Right, going back to the top story, Trump's address, and joining us to put the text of Trump's speech in its proper context for you is Mr. Pinag Ranjan Chakrabarti. Mr. Chakrabarti is a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh and Ambassador to Thailand. He has also served in the Indian diplomatic missions in Cairo, Jeddah, London, Karachi and Tel Aviv. Ambassador, welcome to DD India News Up. Let me start by asking you about Trump's announcement to impose tariffs on more countries from April. Foolhardy, myopic, eminently avoidable. Is Trump cutting his nose to spite his face? How would you describe it?
Well, he's been saying this for a long time. I mean, that he'd like to impose reciprocal tariffs, which basically means that the WTO regime that has been the pillar of international trade, he wants to reject all that. I mean, he's a disruptive kind of a person who thinks that by using such tactics, he'll be able to get a better deal for his country. Now, I don't know whether he will succeed or not, but this is what his plan is, that I will disrupt everything, and then we will settle down somewhere to negotiations, to a kind of an agreement. So let's see how he goes forward. But I'm afraid we are going to see a lot of disruption, and also it'll be a financial kind of a disruption, because already the American stock market is down. It is affecting all the stock markets, except I suppose for the Chinese stock markets, because they seem to be quite upbeat still. So there is some mystery in all this that we are yet to unravel.
Ambassador, another headline coming out of Trump's speech was that Zelensky has written a letter to Trump saying that Zelensky is ready to sign a minerals deal with the US without insisting on US security guarantees. Trump says he's received strong signals from Putin that Russia is ready for peace. So after the Trump-Zelensky verbal spat, have prospects for peace brightened?
I hope so, but I'm not so sure, because these are all negotiating tactics. I think Zelensky also is negotiating by sort of saying that, oh, okay, I'm ready for peace. I don't need security guarantees. Because don't forget that the Europeans have come up with some support for him, and he thinks that that kind of a support might replace the American support that he has got in terms of money and defense supplies. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is all kinds of it's a very complex situation, and everybody's sort of playing their cards in a different way with their interests in mind. So I don't know, but I have a feeling that ultimately Ukraine, because Ukraine is the weakest link in all this, is that they may succumb to these pressures. And but I also think that the geopolitical situation in terms of the old order, which saw NATO and the alliance between the Europeans and the Americans coming under a lot of strain, and that itself is a wake-up call for the rest of the world. But then there is China, and then he's threatening tariffs on India. We will deal with it. I'm sure our policymakers have already decided how to deal with it. And I think it's possible to deal with that because we do have, I mean, to be honest, higher tariffs, and I think we have the cushion to reduce it. So I think we are okay, and we can use this as an opportunity to do a trade deal with the USA.
Ambassador, Trump has rubbed more countries the wrong way. In his address, he spoke about reclaiming the Panama Canal, and that has already started doing it. It coincides with the news of Hong Kong billionaire agreeing to sell most of his company's stake in two key ports on the Panama Canal to a group led by US investment firm BlackRock. What's the real story behind Trump's singular focus on controlling the Panama Canal?
It's very simple. It's about, constraining China because the Chinese company was controlling that. And I think Trump feels that that is, for example, a strategic threat. For example, if the Chinese companies closes the canal and American ships and others, including warships, cannot pass through it, then it would constrain America's strategic interests. So I think that is the reason why he's done it. So far, I think the Chinese company which controls the services there has not done it. But who knows? Because of his other aspects, other policies like increasing the tariffs on China and the China responding, saying that they are prepared for any kind of war. So I think this is the kind of rhetoric that is taking place. And I think the Trump has decided that it's best to keep the Panama Canal in a situation that they have some control, and obviously that is what has happening. And the Chinese company is ready to sell shares. It also shows that the Chinese are willing to let go of certain of their interests, uh, possibly to soften what Trump is planning to do.
Which brings me to Greenland. Ambassador Trump says, and I'm quoting him here, will get Greenland one way or the other. As if on cue, Greenland's leaders have promptly snubbed him. They say Greenland is not for sale. Now, this back and forth is taking place barely a week before the parliamentary election in Greenland. Why does Trump want to annex the world's largest island?
Look, I think the maximalist position that Trump is taking, saying that I will kill you so that you get scared, and then you come and say, please don't kill me. I'm let's talk about it. Let's do a deal, etc. This strategy is now very clear that this bluster and the threats, etc., is basically meant to frighten your opponents or your allies or whoever, and then try to say, okay, let's talk and get to a deal. This is the strategy. I mean, Trump is well known for this, and I think we must all understand that the world has seen through this strategy.
And finally, Ambassador, I want to ask you about Trump's foreign and security and economic policy. Allow me a minute to contextualize it for our viewers. In the 6 weeks, Ambassador, since his inauguration, Trump has snubbed allies in spectacular fashion. Europe by pausing military aid to Ukraine, Mexico, Canada and China by imposing tariffs, and the Arab world by mooting the relocation of Palestinians from Gaza. That's not all. He is equally spectacularly succeeded in inviting retaliatory action from these countries. Europe is mulling putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. Canada and China responded likewise by imposing tariffs on the US. And the Arab leaders met in Cairo to draw up a counter to Trump's Gaza plan. My question to you is this: will it not add to the global uncertainties? Don't we have enough problems as it is for us to now face a new one?
Basically, adding uncertainty is a foreign policy tool. Saying that, look, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then you see the reaction. How the countries react to all this. And then it's basically like putting the cat among the pigeons and then deciding, okay, this is how the reaction is. Then I must mold my policy according to this. And this is what Trump is doing. And he thinks that by doing this, he will get a better deal than by just going through the traditional diplomatic and other moves that we are normally used to. But then he's the president of the United States, and he can throw his weight around because the United States is a powerful country, a global hegemon. Although that aspect has to be kept in mind that it's losing its status as a global kind of a power because other countries are coming up and there's a challenge to its hegemony in many ways. So it's sometimes I feel that there is a sense of desperation to maintain that hegemony. But then, things change. I mean, the global order changes and other countries come up, etc. And so we are seeing actually a geopolitical transition in today's world in terms of the international order established after the at the end of the Second World War after 1945. So all the international organizations are being undermined. Whether it's the UN or the WTO, and he's already sort of withdrawn from the WHO, which has done a very good job in terms of controlling serious diseases across the world. So this is what we are seeing. Whether this will succeed or not is a question mark. I would still say that he may suddenly then realize that because when the consumer prices shoot up in the American market because of his policies, then I think there will be a backlash from the American people. But I don't know whether this will happen or not, or whether he will himself basically use this to do deals with various countries. I believe it's basically designed to do deals. That's what his mental makeup is as a real estate, tycoon.
And very quickly, if I may, Ambassador, if, as you say, multilateralism is dead or is on its deathbed, how should the Global South, India included, navigate this so-called geopolitical minefield?
Well, we'll all have to manage it in the sense that India is already trying to manage it. We've had discussions, and I think we are open to trade deals, etc. We do have some high tariffs on certain items, so we have the cushion to reduce them.
Okay.
So I'm not so pessimistic about all this, and I think deals can be done. I mean, this is what international politics is all about. And they are all. But India is not the largest trading partner of the U.S. It's actually Mexico, then Canada, then China, and then India comes way down in the sense of. So I think Trump has to deal with them first. Those are the big boys in the international trading field. So yeah, this is what is going to happen now, and let us see how it pans out. Because there will be a pushback from the domestic as well as the international, community, in the sense that reciprocal tariffs will be imposed. That will affect the consumer pricing in the United States, and when that happens, I think President Trump will have to take that into account.
Right, we leave it there. Ambassador Chakrabarti, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.